December 1st, 2013. Mall of America Field in Minnesota for this NFC North matchup between the Chicago Bears and the Minnesota Vikings. For Chicago, this is a monumental game, as the NFC North is in a three-way duel between them at 6-5, the Detroit Lions at 6-5, and the Green Bay Packers at 5-1. This feels like a must-win game, especially against a team that is 2-8-1 and is tied with a few other teams for having the fewest wins in the NFL. After trailing 7-6 at the half, Chicago flipped the switch in the third quarter. Josh McCown opened up the second half by throwing an 80-yard touchdown pass to Alshon Jeffrey to give Chicago the lead. Then McCown found Jeffrey again, throwing a 46-yard touchdown pass less than 10 minutes later. Midway through the fourth quarter, the Bears found themselves in prime position to win this game, holding on to a 20-10 lead. But the Vikings came back. Matt Castle led an 89-yard touchdown drive, culminating in an 8-yard pass to Greg Jennings to cut the deficit to 3. Then, after the two teams traded turnovers, Bears punter Adam Podolish was able to pin the Vikings deep at their own 9-yard line with 2:40 left. But Matt Castle led another drive down the field. On 4th and 11, forced to go for it from their own 8-yard line, he found Jerome Simpson for a 20-yard completion. That kept the drive alive. And a few plays later, Blair Walsh, the clutchest kicker in the history of football, hit a 30-yard field goal to tie the game and force overtime. Chicago got the ball to start off OT, and they were forced to punt. Matt Castle and Adrian Peterson once again did their damage, driving down the field and setting up Blair Walsh for a 39-yard field goal. And the kick was good, and the Vikings won the game. Except, there was a face mask penalty called on Red Ellison. Not so fast, my friend. The field goal was negated, and eventually, this turned into a 4th and 28. And Blair Walsh missed a 57-yard field goal, giving the Bears another chance. On the first 5 plays of the drive, the Bears did exactly what they needed to do. They picked up multiple first downs. Matt Forte picked up 24 yards on 5 carries, and had Chicago on Minnesota's 32-yard line with 4:12 left in the extra period. It's now 2nd and 7, and the Bears offense trots back onto the field looking to pick up more yards. Wait, what are they doing? It's 2nd down. Why are they kicking the field goal? Why are they kicking the field?
47-yard field goal try by Robbie Gould to try and win it. For Chicago, it is on the way, and he missed it wide right. Two of the best and most accurate field goal kickers in the NFL. Walsh and now Gould miss with a chance to win it.
And it's deja vu all over again, because now the Minnesota Vikings are in excellent field position to drive to try yet another game-winning field goal.
Welcome to Dumb Decisions. Now, before I break this play down, this whole series is about taking an in-depth look at decisions made during games that were clearly awful from the start. This isn't something that looked bad in hindsight. Rather, this is something that looked awful almost immediately. These are moves where your gut instinct tells you right away that there is no way that this can possibly work. And sure enough, your gut instinct was smarter than that of an NFL head coach. And for this one, we are analyzing the brain of Marc Trestman. Great Canadian coach, but based on his NFL career and his start with the Tampa Bay Vipers in the XFL, maybe not a great American coach. So let's take a deep dive into why trying a 47-yard field goal on 2nd down when you have no reason to try it is a horrible idea. To start off, I wanted to see just how unprecedented Trestman's decision was here. Pro Football Reference is a gameplay finder dating all the way back to 1994 that lets you look at every single play. I took a look at every instance from 1994 to 2013 of a team attempting a field goal in overtime on 1st or 2nd down. I took out plays that happened in the final 2 minutes of overtime because in those instances, teams kick out of necessity. As an example, trying a 51-yard field goal on 1st down in overtime seems stupid, but if you're trying it because there's only 10 seconds left on the clock, that's a completely different story. Over those 20 years, the longest field goal I could find that was attempted in a situation like this was Sebastian Janikowski trying a 40-yarder against the Jaguars in 2012, in a game that I would gladly like to forget. That kick was good. Again, That was the longest distance of an unnecessary field goal on first or second down in overtime. This kick by Robbie Gould was 7 yards longer than that. Not only did it set the record for this oddly specific stat, but it did so by a large margin. No kicker had ever done anything longer than 40, and Gould was out here trying something from nearly 50 yards out for no reason. And if we don't want to cherry pick that number, it's still unprecedented. Since 1999, excluding the end of the half, this was the longest field goal ever attempted on a down that wasn't fourth down. This kick by Gould would have been the longest field goal made at Mall of America Field that season. I looked at all the Vikings home games from that season up until that point that were played in Minnesota, so I'm not counting their game against the Steelers in Week 4 at Wembley Stadium that counted as a home game. Here's a look at all of them plotted by distance. Gould's field goal, if it went in, would have been the longest make. Obviously, 47 yards isn't a super long distance in today's NFL, and it's a kick that you can probably expect to be made about 75 to 80% of the time, but it's not a chip shot. And again, we're talking about a team that tried this on second down. Now, Bears head coach Marc Trestman said that he was scared of the Bears moving backwards, but this theory doesn't seem to make a whole lot of sense when you take the analytics into account. First off, their running back, Matt Forte, he doesn't lose yards. He averaged 5.2 yards per carry that day. And over the course of his career, he was one of the better halfbacks in all of football. I looked at every single run that Forte had from 2008, when he started his career with the Bears, until 2013, the year that this game was played. You can see the number of runs that he had that didn't lose yards, and the number of runs that he had that did. The percentage of negative runs is significantly less than the percentage of positive runs or runs where there's no gain. And Trestman's theory might hold weight if the Bears were moving backwards or were prone to turning the ball over, but again, that definitely was not the case here. On the 5 plays that the Bears had that drive, the Bears gained yards on all 5 of them. Matt Forte, again, one of the best halfbacks in football in the league at this point, had 120 yards rushing on 23 carries that day. And Forte doesn't fumble the football. Before this kick, Forte had touched the ball 272 times that season, with 214 rushing attempts and 58 receptions. He had fumbled the ball twice. That's it, 0.7% of the time. Less than a 1 in 100 shot if you're playing the odds here. If we go back to the end of the 2012 season, he had 2 lost fumbles in his previous 395 touches. So if you're Marc Trestman, which odds do you want to play? The somewhat likely chance that your kicker misses a 47-yard field goal, or the roughly 1 in 200 chance that you give the ball away? The fact that he didn't trust Forte enough to hold onto the ball here is stunning. But let's assume that Trestman was right, and the Bears moved backwards on the next 2 plays. So instead of a 47-yard field goal, it would be from 48, 49, 50, you name it. I looked at every field goal that Robbie Gould attempted from 47 plus yards from 2005, the start of his career, to the time of this game. From 47 yards prior to this game, Gould was 8 for 11, making 72.7% of his kicks at that distance. Let's suppose the Bears lost yards on second and third down, and they had to try a 50-plus yard field goal. At that point in his career, on kicks from 50 to 59 yards, Gould hit 15 out of 19. That's 78.9%. For some bizarre reason, the percentage actually increased for Gould the further back he was. Now, am I suggesting that the Bears should have intentionally lost yards on second and third down? No, absolutely not. But I am saying that Trestman's fear of Gould from long distance if they did lose yards was not justified in the slightest bit. It's not like 2 negative runs by Forte would have put Gould in a position where he only hit kicks 40% of the time. No, he was still really good from 50 plus yards, and he was one of the best kickers in football at the time. And we have to look at the clock here as well. The Vikings have no timeouts. Even if Forte does nothing on the next 2 plays and gets stonewalled at the line for no gain, you can drain the clock and make it so that the Vikings do get the ball back on a missed field goal and have no time to play with. If you find a way to get a first down on this drive, you might even be able to put yourselves in a position where even if you miss, the Vikings can't possibly get the ball back. And the worst that can happen is the game ends in a tie, which is still at least something positive to build on in a tight division race like this. Kicking the field goal here was not only a bad idea from the perspective of getting points on the board, but it was a bad idea from the perspective of allowing the Vikings a shot to get back into possible winning position that they never should have had to begin with. So why did Marc Trestman do this? Why would he kick a 47-yard field goal on second down when there is literally no precedent for trying a kick from that far out early in the down count? His biggest reason was nothing that I mentioned. Yeah, I mentioned earlier that he didn't want to lose the ball and was worried about moving it back, but I kid you not, the biggest reason for why he tried it was the fact that he had the ball in the middle of the field. I'm not sure that Trestman realizes that you can just call some more runs up the middle so that it stays in the middle of the field. Maybe Trestman thought he was still in Canada where they only have 3 downs, and they wanted to try the field goal on second down so that if the snap was bad, they'd still have a shot. I really don't know. What else could Trestman have done in this situation? Keep running the ball up the middle, since it was clearly working. Keep burning the clock so that if you don't make the field goal, you at least give the Vikings virtually no time to win the game. Trust your Pro Bowl halfback to not turn the ball over. He literally could have done almost anything else besides kicking the field goal on second down from 47 yards out, and it would have been better received by the media and the fans. So what did we learn from all of this? If you're trying a 47-yard field goal, you probably shouldn't do it on second down. You should probably let the clock wind down as much as possible so that you can minimize your chances of losing. If you have a strategy that's been working, and have a Pro Bowl halfback that doesn't turn it over and is having a good day, continue to use that strategy, and continue to use him. Oh, and don't be such a scaredy cat, because when all these elements are in play, you can't exactly be surprised when this play backfires. Talk about a dumb decision.
47-yard field goal try by Robbie Gould to try and win it. For Chicago, it is on the way, and he missed it wide right. Two of the best and most accurate field goal kickers in the NFL. Walsh and now Gould miss with a chance to win it.
And it's deja vu all over again, because now the Minnesota Vikings are in excellent field position to drive to try yet another game-winning field goal.